the Shabbos Dafka. So it's explained that in Shabbos specifically, דיבור חוזר למקורו ממש, that's when the concept of speech goes back to its source. Truly, like it says there in the Maamer Yisrael, he mentioned previously that the Holy One, blessed be He, rested from the concept of speech. And so then the life force of the worlds came from the world of Bria, which is the concept of thought instead of speech, because the speech went up on Shabbos. So from this it's understood the Bechinas Rosh Chodesh Eino Shabbos velo. And so the concept of Rosh Chodesh that is not Shabbos velo Shavas Baruch Baruch Hu Bechinas דיבור, and the Holy One, blessed be He, did not rest from the concept of speech. Bechinas דיבור Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but the flow still comes from the concept of speech of the Holy One, blessed be He. Im Kain as ein hamshachos hachayos mebechinas olam habri levado. So the flow of life force to the worlds does not come from the world of Bria alone. Sharihu bechinas machshava, which is because that's the concept of thought. V'yom tov af she'enu Shabbos, and Yom Tov, even though it's not Shabbos, mikol makom meir behem gam kin mebechinas machshava ubria, it also shines from the world of thought and Bria, because it's forbidden to do work on them. Shabbos, that's the concept of Shabbos as well, the word says that you have to rest on Yom Tov, to rest from doing work. And that's why it says in the Torah by Yom Tov, a language of a resting. B'yom harishon Shabbason, or b'yom hashmini Shabbason, that on the first day of the holiday is a Shabbason, a resting, and on the 8th day is a resting, b'suf parshas Emor. Mash'en came b'rosh chodesh the mutar b'asiyas malacha, which is not the case on the first of the month. On Rosh Chodesh, that's permissible to do work, mishum shegam l'mayla ein bo shvisa me'b'chinas דיבור chulu, because also above, spiritually, there's no resting from the concept of speech. But this is at first glance against what we brought from the Zohar in Parshas Noach, in the name of the Mikdash Melech. That on Rosh Chodesh the light comes down also from the world of Bria, like on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Lo nizbor klal zeh, but in the truth, in Priyatz Chaim, this general rule is not explained. That to say this, that on Rosh Chodesh the revelation will be below from the world of Bria, like on Yom Tov. That we don't actually compare them, like is implied from the Mikdash Melech on Parshas Noach. And look at in Priyatz Chaim, where it talks about how the holiness of Chol HaMoed is higher than the holiness of Rosh Chodesh. And there he writes that the concept of Chol HaMoed in general, because even though the holidays are the glimmer of the world of Atzilus in the world of Bria, from a portion of its portions, im chesed b'Pesach, im tiferes b'Shvuos chulu ad kan, whether it's kindness on Pesach, and tiferes on Shvuos, and so forth, v'chaser tashlum adrush, and we don't have the end of that drush from the Arizal and Priyatz Chaim. But at any rate, al kol panim mitchilas lashon of inyan chol hamoed chulu, but from the implication of the beginning of how he starts it, that about Chol HaMoed, ki im hios chulad, even though mashma the hayarot levar, this implies that he wanted to explain bechol HaMoed einu kain, that on Chol HaMoed it's not the case. That's not so. Kamo b'Yom Tov, that like it is on Yom Tov. That Chol HaMoed is lower than Yom Tov. and how much more so on Rosh Chodesh, like he said, that Rosh Chodesh is lower than Chol HaMoed. And even in Zohar, Suf Pashas Noach, we're not forced to say this. Even though it says clearly that on the day of the first of the new month, there's an opening of the gate. The Malchus de Atzilus of Malchus of Atzilus. Shloka fi shi yimusachol. I'm not sure what Shin Yud Mem He Mem Ayin is. Shimusa Shemia Maise. That's what it is. Sham Malchus mislabeshes b'yemei achol matat. That Malchus is enclosed in the days of the week. In Matat, but Rosh Chodesh me'ira shelo al yado. And Rosh Chodesh it shines not through him. Mikol makom ein hichreach loma shagili mibechinas bria mamash. But we're still not obligated to say that the revelation is actually from the world of Bria, like it is in Shabbos and Yom Tov. Kim efshar loma, but we can say she'inyan agila yoser de b'shiyemei ha chol b'chutz la'aretz. That we just have a higher relation. That in the days of the week and in the outside of Israel, because of Arizal, the Arizal writes, "Hutak lashonu b'priyetz chaim mishoy mikray kodesh peragimel sheba hashpa idei slabshus be'asiyah mamash." That on the days of the week outside of Israel, the flow comes enclosed in the world of Asiyah truly. Hainu b'yom rishon mislabish chesed de'atzilus b'chesed shebebriya v'chesed debriya mislabish b'chesed de'yitzira v'chesed de'yitzira v'chesed de'asiyah. That you have the enclothement on the first day of the week is kindness. The kindness of Atzilus is enclosed in the kindness of the world of Bria. And the kindness in the world of Bria is enclosed in the kindness of Yitzira. And the kindness of Yitzira is enclosed in the kindness of Asiyah. Vilu b'Rosh Chodesh vade ein mislabish b'chesed de'asiyah. Ki'im shenimshach hachayis mebechinas Yitzira. On Rosh Chodesh, certainly the enclothement of the kindness, it's not enclosed in the kindness of Asiyah all the way. This whole 4 levels of enclothement. But rather, it's enclosed in the life force from the world of Yitzira. And this a concept should not be small in your eyes. That they change in between the days of the week and Rosh Chodesh is only from Asiyah till Yitzira. Because that itself, the difference between Asiyah and Yitzira is the whole difference between the conduct of the land of Israel and the conduct of the divine flow outside of Israel. Like the Arizal says there. Look what it says in the Maamarei concerning how in the future the land of Israel will spread out to the whole world. I'm sick to the Shabbos for Rosh Chodesh b'sifrei Dvarim. I'm Aleph u'biyalkot Yishaya Tav Kuf Gimel. And there it explains the great difference between the conduct of the divine flow in the world of Asiyah, of Yitzira, and the world of Asiyah. That it was from this reason that impurity was decreed upon the air outside of Israel, other than Syria. So if so, so it's not a small thing that on Rosh Chodesh there's a revelation also outside of Israel, through the world of Yitzira, not through Asiyah. And this is also is implied there in Parshas Noach and Zohar, in the Kosav, Bar the Yisrael Chulu, except for in the land of Israel. That there it equates the concept of Rosh Chodesh to the way things are in the land of Israel. That the whole difference between the land of Israel is that the conduct of divine flow there is that it's not through the world of Asiyah. So we can say that the same thing is on Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh, Eino, Nekrā, Yom HaMaaseh. So according to this, it makes sense that Rosh Chodesh is not called the day of Ma'aseh, the day of Asiyah, because it's not enclosed within the Ma'aseh, between in the action. Nonetheless, it's still through the concept of speech. Because the thought is the concept of the world of Bria, and speech is the world of Yitzira, while Asiyah is the world of Asiyah. This is known the concept of that he forms light and creates darkness. But according to this, it needs to be understood. The Yitzira is the concept of matat in general. And in Zohar it implies certainly that on Rosh Chodesh it does not come through this malach, because that's the whole concept of what it says there, that on the day of the Chodesh it will be opened up, meaning to say that the flow is not coming through matat. The malchus opens up and does not flow through that concept. So the concept is that this whole idea of enclothement in the angel matat, it's explained in the concept of how beautiful are your feet in their shoes, in your matat, the sandal, the concept of the angels of matat and sandal, that they're the concept of enclothement, of the garment of shoes, so to speak, that the lowest level of enclothement in each world, just like the lowest level of a garment of a person is the shoes, so to the lowest level of enclothement is this concept of the matat and sandal of the world. The Shem Nekra Minal, the Shchinta, they're called the shoes of the Shechina, so to speak. Look over there, and look over there where it talks about how you have the shoe of Yitzira and the shoe of Asiyah. The concept is it's like a thick leather garment, as opposed to a thin, like shirt or pants or something, where that's why it's the thickest garment. V'hainu, and that is should be bechinas osius דיבור. Yesh beis bechinos u'madregos. You have two concepts and levels. V'ulamata, and below. So you have the speech as it comes to the world of Asiyah, and the speech as it comes to the world of Asiyah, of Yitzira and Asiyah. And how can you understand these two concepts of letters of speech? You have the letters of, because below you also have two concepts in letters. They have the letters of speech and the written letter. So what does it mean that the door will be closed in the Beis HaMikdash on Rosh Chodesh? That when the door is closed, that is, you have the enclothement of Malchus in the shoe, so to speak, of Yitzira and the shoe of Asiyah. That on Shabbos it goes up from both Asiyah and Yitzira. It only remains the garment of the world of Bria, which is the concept of thought. You've gone up from both levels of speech. But in Rosh Chodesh we can say that the elevation is only from the first level of the shoe of Asiyah, which is the letters of speech, which is the lowest level. Then Nekrא Pasuk Asiyah, which is in Pasuk is called the action. The Maace. Eino, Nekrא Yom HaMaaseh. Therefore, Rosh Chodesh is not called a day of action. Of al bechinas hadibur Shalma'ala bechinas Asiyah meir gam b'Rosh Chodesh, but the concept of speech that's also above Asiyah, that does shine on Rosh Chodesh. and to bring it closer to the intellect, the difference between the concepts of these two letters. We can say, like it says in Tanya, about how David made a name, concerning the concept of the inner concept of the letters and the body and the shape of the letters. So it's like the letters have a body and a soul, and the world of Asiya receives from the body, so to speak, the matter that composes the letters. Which is not the case with the world of Yitzira, which is the world of the angels. Like I guess the difference between the written letter and the spoken letter. Or you can say that each letter has a form, and then it has in it a meaning, a sound. Or you could say that like there's the difference between the greatness of the oral Torah over the written Torah. That in the oral Torah, the letters spread out in accordance with the multitude of or how spread out the intellect is. Which is not the case with the written Torah. The letters do not change. So it's then when it's understood that it's known that Mikra is in the world of Asiya, the letters don't change, and Mishnah, the world is in Yitzir, the letters do change. Is more hispashtus to those letters. So we can say that that's also the difference between the letters of speech of the world of Asiya and the letters of speech of the world of Yitzira. And then it makes sense to say that these letters of Yitzira can be connected with Rosh Chodesh as דיבור מקבל מעשיה כמו שכתוב לעיל. Because then the speech receives from the intellect. And if you want to ask him, so we said that Rosh Chodesh, it comes from the world of Yitzira, and Eretz Yisrael itself is from the world of, is that like that? So what happens on Rosh Chodesh in the land of Israel? There, even during the week, the conduct is through the world of Yitzira. And it's hard to say that it's only that first difference. You can only say that first difference that was mentioned, that Malchus receives only from Chachma and Bina, not through Zah, and that's what's happening in the land of Israel. But we must say there's something else extra, special in the land of Israel that's different than outside of Israel. But the truth is, it's not difficult. We can say that the revelation on Rosh Chodesh from the world of Yitzira is higher than the revelation during the week, even in the land of Israel. Because in the world of Yitzira itself, there's also different levels. There's the three worlds, Bria, Yitzira, Asiya, of Yitzira. So you could say, I guess, that during the week it happens through Asiya of Yitzira, and Rosh Chodesh is Yitzira of Yitzira, perhaps. Well, even though he doesn't say it straight out. All of this explanation is in order to stand up and establish the words of the Alter Rebbe that on Rosh Chodesh it comes through the concept of speech, which implies that it comes from the world of Yitzira. And certainly his words are obligatory. That you cannot say that the flow does not come through the concept of speech at all, unless it's the concept of Shabbos. But the truth is, we could also push it and try to understand things also in the way the Mikdash Melech did. Al pi ma shekaz Rabinu, and according to the way the Alter Rebbe explains things, b'dibur hamaskil ani yashena. The mind that I am sleeping. So what does it say there? I'm sleeping, my heart is awake. That in the concept of thought, which is the world of Bria, there's also three concepts of thought, speech, and action. That is the thought and speech of thought. And also the concept of action of thought. That is three concepts of the world of Bria Tzira in the world of Bria itself. And according to this, we can push the answer. The Rosh Chodesh is also from the world of Bria. But if you want to say that it also has speech, say that it's from the world of Yitzira of Bria. That is the speech of thought. So according to this explanation, the Shabbos would be from thought of thought. That's why, in comparison to Shabbos and Yom Tov, Rosh Chodesh is called the concept of speech, because it's the concept of speech of thought. And this is a similar explanation to how the Alter Rebbe explains that the world could have been created with one statement. Nami Maimer, which is that first statement of Beraishis that includes all the other statements, all the other memoros. That the pasuk Beraishis is also a Maimer, Shu Bechinas דיבור שבמחשבה, because it's the concept of speech of thought. It's the speech that includes all the others. Within thought, everything is included before the speech actually comes out. So that's the one statement, the concept of speech as it is still in thought. And according to this, we can answer that if Rosh Chodesh is only Yitzira, that in the land of Israel, even during the week, the glimmers from the six sides, the six emotional attributes that correspond with the world of Yitzira. What's the greatness of Rosh Chodesh? We can say that's the whole point, is that Rosh Chodesh comes from the world of Bria, Yitzira of Bria. So it's a more pashtus answer in that particular sense. But we could also answer according to the first way we answered things. That in the world of Yitzira, there's also the world Atzilas Bria Yitzira. And therefore during the week, we could say the flow is from the world of action of Yitzira, and from Rosh Chodesh from a higher place.